Welcome, everyone. Hope you're all well. My name's Kamlesh Patel, formerly Lord Patel of Bradford, as you can tell by my accent. I'm absolutely delighted and honoured to be here today with such an august group of speakers on what is very clearly an important and timely health and life sciences as part of the inaugural UK Northern Asian Power Mission to India, aimed at strengthening the UK-India special relationship and forging bilateral partnerships and collaborations across a range of industries and sectors. I just want to take 2 seconds to congratulate the organisers, especially Sharon Jandu and her team, for their hard work in putting together what looks an impressive virtual exhibition. And particularly my thanks to all the public and private sector partners from the UK and India. And I'd like to extend an extremely warm welcome to all of our guest speakers, delegates, supporters, and partners joining us across the UK and India. And I think, what a truly important time to be having these collaborative discussions to build on the amazing global efforts in combating COVID-19. 2020 is a year we're not going to forget. The outstanding work of our respective healthcare providers, our scientific advisors, the researchers and government officials in the areas of clinical research, drug development, vaccine development, most importantly, and of course, the exchange of best practices to help manage this terrible pandemic. As hopefully we gradually emerge from the pandemic, and at a time when the world is looking at new ways of developing global cooperation and collaboration, it's actually very refreshing to be part of this timely event, which will help facilitate knowledge exchange, innovation, and most importantly, boost two-way trade and investment opportunities. Why am I here? Well, personally, I have a long history of work in the health and social care sector. As a frontline worker and a manager of services, as an academic, as a policymaker, and as a government regulator. Therefore, have been and continue to be passionately involved in developing and promoting national and global healthcare initiatives. In one of my capacities, chair of the India Business Group, working with the Chief Executive, Amarjit Singh, I've been involved in facilitating many international projects, not only in healthcare, but in business, in sports, in philanthropy, and education. I currently have the honour of chairing some important UK organisations, including the government regulator Social Work England, and I've recently been appointed as the chair of the Independent Health Providers Network, which represents the majority of private health care providers in the UK. And I'm lucky enough to be involved in an advisory capacity with several Russell Group universities in deepening UK-India engagement. Oxford, Somerville, the University of Southampton, Queen Mary's, University of London, to mention a few. And of course, as a Yorkshireman and as an Indian at heart, I'm supporting a variety of cricket tournaments in the UK and India. And I would happily talk to you about cricket for the next hour, but this is about healthcare. So I'll focus on that. Healthcare has been identified as a priority sector between the UK and India. And I believe there are clearly tremendous opportunities for both the UK and Indian organisations. There's no doubt, with the right support and with the right partnerships, that UK investors will find multifaceted opportunities when seeking to enter the Indian healthcare market. And I'm sure we're going to explore some of those today with some of the guest speakers we have and some of their expertise. However, I would just like to stress that the opportunities exist in both directions. And the UK can similarly benefit from India's wealth of expertise and experience, for example, of how to deliver mass-scale healthcare services. So there's considerable scope for both nations to jointly design and implement new, innovative and sustainable healthcare models and systems which deliver high quality, accessible, efficient and scalable solutions. I'm really looking forward to the contributions of my panel members today. We're going to begin our session very shortly with 2 introductions from our key partners, from FICCI and from the UK India Business Group. These are going to be followed by 6 short case studies that will enable people to talk about their experiences, their opportunities and challenges from a range of sectors. And then what we want to do is take those into 3 roundtable format sessions, 3 focus groups, digital health, medtech and diagnostics, and healthy aging. And then we'll all come back together for a quick sum up of the day. So without further ado, I'm going to ask Dr. Alok Roy to say a few words about himself and introduce FICCI. Dr. Roy, over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Patel. First of all, thanks for this opportunity to participate in this today's forum. FICCI is a group of industries where the multiple industries are its partners. We work as a stakeholder. We take the industry voice to the government, and we also coordinate between the industry and the government on various important issues, on policy matters, or various kind of where the both sides can benefit from each other's interactions. So FICCI is one of the largest chamber in India, one of the oldest and largest. In COVID, in last 1 year, before I go about myself, I thought let's talk about FICCI. We have been interacting with the government extensively. And as you know that India has done remarkably well in managing pandemic. And we have done as an individual, we've done as a group, we have done as a country. We have contained, and even with the second wave, we have survived. And now with a massive immunization underway, where both private sector and government have joined hand and got together and rolling it out, is just simply amazing. In last 1 year, FICCI advised to the government on private sector participation in COVID-19. We had a lot of fiscal and non-fiscal recommendation to the government dealing with the COVID. Pricing framework for private hospitals in India was suggested by FICCI, which was to a great extent accepted by the government. FICCI had done along with the EY on the economic impact of COVID-19. So we worked with the government throughout for a year, creating the teaching material, guidance document on safer workplace, and so on and so forth. I'm basically a nuclear cardiologist. I have a chain of hospitals across Eastern India, and where we deal with all kinds of patients in different capitals of the states. And we are very happy to part of this, and we will, as in my second, when I come back again, I will let you know that what can be done between both of us. One thing we have garnered in last 1 year very clearly, we have seen what can be contributed in a very meaningful way, as Mr. Patel said in the beginning, about the training. We really have prepared ourselves for the training internally and for the external people as well. So I'll elaborate more on that when I come back again. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Roy. And clearly, FICCI plays a really crucial part and will continue to support trade between both our nations, and especially I think the important point of training and education and workforce development. So that'd be really helpful. And it seamlessly takes me on to the UK India Business Council, and we're delighted to have with us the Associate Director of UK IBC, MEGHNA MISRA-ELDER, to tell us a little bit about the organisation and how you can help inward and outbound business.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Lord Patel. Hello, everyone. So like Lord Patel just mentioned, I'm MEGHNA MISRA-ELDER, and I lead on the healthcare and digital innovation sectors at the UK India Business Council. The UK India Business Council, or UK IBC, as we are more well known for. For those who don't know us, is an advocacy and strategy advisory business, working with both the governments of UK and India and helping companies in both markets. Our advocacy work supports businesses to make the case for government reforms, policy advocacy, so basically overcoming trade barriers being faced by businesses. And we work very closely with FICCI and CII and the likes. Just to mention as an example, we are the UK Secretariat for the UK-India Joint Economic Trade Committee and the CEO Forum. And then our strategic advice and tactical support business helps our clients enter, understand and expand in both markets. So that's just in a nutshell what we do. In terms of our focus, it's obviously about on opportunities for UK and India collaboration, and what we've been working on in the past. Of course, healthcare has become very, very important. Not that it wasn't before, but after the recent budget announcement last month, where Government of India allocated a significant amount towards further strengthening the healthcare infrastructure. In fact, I did a blog recently, which is on our website, which gives more details on what the sort of various subheads are in case someone's interested. But the budget was increased by 137% from last year, which was absolutely required. But I think it also emphasizes, the government focus on improving the sector, which of course throws more for companies who might be here today. And in terms of opportunities, I think largely our focus is in three areas. One being digital health. Of course, everybody's been talking about digital transformation, and digital health is the way forward. So which basically includes mobile health, telehealth, medtech, remote diagnostic, and healthcare analytics, which is not only an excellent solution to, I think, India's needs, but also, when reversed, a solution to the heavily burdened NHS here. So that's a major area of focus. And as many of you will already know, India has emerged as one of the fastest growing digital economies. And you may already be aware of some of the challenges being faced by the healthcare sector in India, like the doctor-patient ratio, access to healthcare in rural areas, just to name a few. So as a result of that, the Indian healthcare sector has already adopted digital transformation to improve quality and accessibility. And I think even before the pandemic, the government was working towards digital transformation. But I think the pandemic has further accelerated the process. And, to push these efforts, Government of India has established the National Digital Health Mission, which basically aims to provide the necessary support for integration of digital health infrastructure in the country. And they've also sort of developed a national digital health blueprint to make this transition. We're doing a lot of work in this area. I mean, I can go on for hours and hours, but I'll be happy to share more details if anyone's interested in one of the sessions later. The second area is, which I think Lord Patel briefly mentioned, and Dr. Roy as well, is digital skills. I think to support the adoption of technology, there needs to be skilled workforce. We recently hosted a meeting with some key stakeholders like the Healthcare Sector Skill Council, Department for International Trade, Pearson's, who's doing a lot of work supporting the government in the UK, Apollo Med Skills, which is working in India on developing medical skills, and employers like GSK, AstraZeneca, National Skills Network, who are sort of connecting the requirement as well as what is being developed in terms of curriculum to actually start looking at key opportunities where there are gaps within the upskilling area. And some of the areas that came up were within the allied health services, of course, digital health, so data analytics, telehealth, telemedicine, but also geriatric services, home care services, just to name a few. And I think that the final area that we're focusing on is, again, home, geriatric and social care sector, which is definitely an area to look at, because it's fairly unorganized in India. There's huge demand, but I think UK is far ahead in terms of what it can provide. So we see a lot of collaboration there. Now, that's not an exhaustive list by any means, but it's just some of the areas that we're working on. We're actually running programs and sort of engagement initiatives where we can help companies. So I'll be happy to share more details on either of them, but I think for introduction, that's all I have to say. Thanks.
Thank you very much for a really comprehensive overview. You covered a huge amount there, and I think some really important issues. I think it's fair to say in the UK health sector, we've probably advanced 10 years in 10 months in terms of our digital transformations. Things we never imagined doing, we're all doing. In fact, we're doing this today is a good example. The mention of the workforce, the health service is not simply about doctors and nurses, as important as they are. We need to have a big digital workforce, and both nations have that real expertise, that they can share and develop. And I'm really pleased you mentioned the word social care, because I think in this discussion around health, we mustn't forget the valuable contribution that social care plays and underpins everything. So I'm sure lots of people will be in touch with you very, very soon, because I'd love to follow up on many of those things with you as well. Thank you, both of you, for giving some partner representation there. Now we're going to move on to a half a dozen case studies, and we're going to begin with a very dear friend of mine, Professor Dean Fathers. Dean, give a short introduction to yourself and the journey and some of the things that opportunities and challenges that would be really helpful. Thank you, Dean.
Thank you, Lord Patel, and thank you for such a warm welcome and greetings to all of those participating in today's session. It gives me great pleasure to speak to you today. So by way of introduction, I'm a complex individual. I sit in three worlds, all essentially within the health sector, all at the same time. And by way of showing this slide, I'm really wanting to just make 2 points, really. First of all, my role on a local enterprise partnership is actually quite important for trade. And if you're in India and you don't know about local enterprise partnerships, they're a great source of advice and support. And in the Northern Powerhouse, there are 11 local enterprise partnerships, which would be very keen to listen and engage with you. What I'd also like to kind of just point out by this particular slide is that I've been in most parts of the health system over the years. Many people refer to me as a system in myself. What that basically should reveal is that the health system in the UK is both complicated and complex. And the first piece of learning that I'd like to share with you is a piece of research which was conducted by Professor Wellborn, a colleague of mine when I was at Cass Business School, who basically on behalf of the Academic Health Science Network studied why successful organisations succeeded in the health system and why they failed. And essentially the reason for their failure was often because they didn't have a good navigator, somebody who could help them to understand the complications and the complexities. And so what makes a successful intervention within the UK, whether you're a British business or a Indian business, is actually about making sure that you get well connected, you have a good navigator, and you have people who understand and speak the language of the system. And the system in the UK is full of acronyms and abbreviations, and you've got to be able to understand and be able to navigate that. So that's the first lesson from my session today. So MEGHNA has actually referred to this slide in her narrative so far, and that basically articulates how before COVID came along, there was a massive need for digital transformation to take place within the United Kingdom, but also around the world. And Eric Topol wrote a famous book, which is entitled The Patient Will See You Now, and really articulated the democratization of the health system, bringing the patient voice to the fore and making smart patients something of a reality. And you can see that how digitization is creating the environment for that smart reality to take place, in such an extent that if you actually look at how mobile technology has enabled states like Singapore to take a very strong control over the COVID pandemic over there, to enable people to actually understand how they can control their connectivity with the disease and how they can prevent themselves from becoming ill, then it's an important lesson to learn. So prevention becomes a key opportunity within the gift of people who are providing digital technologies into the health system. The gift of data, the gift of intelligence is actually significant. And one of the things that we actually need to be able to recognize is that if you actually take that gift and analyze information intelligently, you can create new opportunities and permanently transform, and as a result of that, create new wealth for yourselves as trading organizations. We'll have a quick look at what those opportunities might be. But there's a little bit of a health warning in terms of the NHS, particularly if you're wanting to get into the NHS, in that the NHS is an organisation, when studied by another academic, Dr. Caroline Strauss, back in at the beginning of the 1910-11 period, basically discovered that the NHS is what they call principally an adaptive innovator. It's not an innovation system that enables massive transformation to take place historically. The way that people within the health system are trained typically give them an ability to be intelligently focused on criticizing data, and therefore they want proper evidence and they like pilots. What the COVID situation has done is it's transformed that culture. There's a new culture developing within the NHS, and what a lot of work is going on at the moment to make sure that that old culture doesn't come back to dominate. So it's an interesting place, and certainly something that we're watching kind of very strongly within my academic circles. So what are the real opportunities within this? So we've got two massive opportunities really, to look down the microscope or to look up the telescope. So data is giving us some richness in terms of looking down the microscope, enabling us to understand how genomics and phenomics will actually help us to bring in new cancer treatments, new care systems. The COVID Pfizer vaccine is a lovely example about how we're actually able to use that microscopic technologies to actually enable us to actually create real change within the system. But looking through the telescope, we can actually look at the wider system, how rich data is actually enabling us to actually see bigger pictures and different patterns and different ways. And as a result of that, what we're able to do is think differently about how we change people's behaviors, how we can actually prevent as opposed to just cure. And so that intelligence that we're getting is also starting to lead into artificial intelligence, enabling us to look at how we can most productively change people's behaviors through more effective communication. So what does better informed look like? Well, essentially, what we're doing through our electronic health record systems is we're empowering the citizen to take greater control over what they do within the health system. We're taking some of that control in a proactive way to get people to change their lifestyles. We're even getting them to actually think about things like health passports, whereby we're able to actually prevent things that will prevent movement of people, for instance, as a result of COVID. We're enabling people to actually get the freedom back that they wish to have within their own life. So hopefully as a result of that, what we should be seeing is better mental health as well as better physical health, better social care as well as better public health care. So the whole system is actually able to benefit from this new intelligence that we're getting. Alternatively, however, more intelligence can actually create anxiety, and therefore there is always a caveat to be given to these sorts of statements. With greater anxiety becomes greater potential mental health problems, and we've therefore got to be aware that that might happen as well. So what's the size of the prize that we've got? With good digital technology, with good improvements, what we're able to do is take the average modified modality curve and push the curve down. We can prevent people from getting ill so quickly. And the more we push that curve down, the longer people are able to remain economically active, the longer they're able to add value in their life, and therefore they'll be able to be more productive. And therefore, there is a return on investment that is very transparent that comes from the investment in digital technology. And therefore, by enabling that capital investment to take place, we should be able to see the rise of new enterprises, creating more value across the whole system and enabling people's lives to be enriched and improved upon. And then my final two slides, and these come from a piece of research that was literally hot on the press this week. McKinsey's have just published a piece of research looking at the future of work post-COVID, and two revelations come out of that piece of research for me. Firstly, that the health system, because of its proximity to people, is most significantly impacted as a result of COVID. And as Lord Patel has already said, in the last 10 months, that has necessitated huge innovations to take place within the health system. And those huge innovations are now creating the momentum for continuous change, and we hope that that continuous change will continue to improve the lives of our populations. And the consequences of that is that you will see from their research that both in the UK and in India, there's going to be a major transformation of the labour markets, with millions of people needing to reskill, redeploy their capabilities within the STEM science, the health professions and the health technology markets. And therefore we are ripe with opportunity. And at that point, I will close and hand back over to you, Lord Patel.
Thank you very much for a phenomenally comprehensive coverage in such a short space of time. I won't attempt to recap on anything, but it'd be really nice just to remind people of the key things you've said. I think the importance of partnerships between academic, public and private, the importance of actually understanding complex systems and making them a little bit simpler, the future, for example, genomics, the immense value of data if it's analysed properly. And I'm really pleased, you talked about well-being and mental health, because we continually focus just on physical health, and of course prevention and public health. And the most important sentence, the patient will see you now, because we must remember this is about patients and people first and foremost. Thank you, Dean. That was excellent. If I can turn to Tim Newns now, the CEO of MIDAS, a really important organisation. We'll look forward to hearing from you, Tim. Over to you.
First of all, great to be on this today. As said, my name is Tim Newns. I'm Chief Executive of MIDAS, which is the Inward Investment Agency for Greater Manchester. So we work very closely with the Manchester-India Partnership, both of which we're here to very much support Indian companies that are looking to invest in the UK and more specifically into Greater Manchester as well. So, very pleased to be able to present to you on life sciences and healthcare today. Just to give you a bit of background, the northwest of England is the largest major life science cluster outside the Golden Triangle in the UK, so outside the southeast primarily, with the University of Manchester and what we call the Oxford Road Corridor in Manchester as being the largest academic health science campus in Europe, actually. Now that particular area of Manchester is home to two of our major universities, our largest and most significant research university, Manchester University, but also Manchester Metropolitan University as well, in addition to our our largest hospitals as well, the Manchester Foundation Trust, and all the sort of clinical academic institutions that sit around that. So from the Wellcome Trust to the likes of the Christie Hospital, one of Europe's largest cancer hospitals, and also the Wolfson Imaging Institute and many, many other institutes as well, both specifically medical, but also non-medical as well, but related. So, for example, things like our advanced materials institutes like the National Graphene Institute and the Graphene Engineering and Innovation Centre, all of which obviously have a role to play, particularly in medical products as well. So an incredible cluster of institutions, research institutions, and also companies as well. So there's over 300 life science companies in that area, ranging from SMEs right through to very large companies, as you'd expect. And about 84% of those identify as medtech, so a heavy focus on medtech in this region. And we say that Manchester is made for medtech, essentially. So that combination of a real expertise around diagnostics, around devices, and around digital is where our sweet spot lies, I suppose. So that's what I wanted to concentrate on today. One of the other aspects of what we have available locally is we have a devolved healthcare system here. So most of the UK has a setup where primary care, so hospitals, etc., is controlled by national government, and the likes of social care is controlled by local governments, so cities, regions, etc. Manchester is the only area of England where those two things are combined. So we have an integrated £6 billion health and social care budget that brings both primary and secondary and social care together, and therefore enables us to look at it as a complete system. Now, one thing that we had to do within that process of devolving that healthcare system was to actually look at how we improve it, how we actually create efficiencies, but also obviously improve effectiveness as well. And so in order to do that, we had to pump innovation into the system, both in terms of, if you like, healthcare models, but also in terms of technology as well, and how that could improve outcomes, healthcare outcomes, but also whilst, as I say, creating efficiencies at the same time. And in order to do that, and in order to drive that innovation through the system, we created an organisation called Health Innovation Manchester. And that's remit is absolutely to look out there in the marketplace where there is innovation available through the private sector, through companies, and how we can adopt and drive the innovation that we see in the marketplace into the local health system here. So we have an organisation whose pure role it is to look at how they can develop that or acknowledge and identify that technology and that transformation outside Greater Manchester, or potentially with companies that are within Greater Manchester as well, with a focus really on digital transformation, in particular of healthcare, and then drive that back into the health system in order to achieve those gains that we've talked about. So in that sense, the whole environment that we're looking at contributes to that transformation process. And we've tried to make Manchester very much a test bed for new technologies, whether that be through clinical trials, and we have one of the most effective clinical trials systems here in the UK, or whether it's more nuanced and actually through, as I say, testing products and services in practice in the health system directly. And we have the setup to do that as well. The other cornerstone really of what we have here is that, as I say, we are an incredibly strong digital centre as well. So we're the largest digital centre outside London in the UK, one of the largest digital centres in Europe. And so the way that combines, along with manufacturing as well, which can be, like the rest of the north of England, still a very strong manufacturing base. And therefore the fact that we can combine digital, healthcare and manufacturing makes us a really, really interesting sort of convergence of those different elements. And on the digital side alone, that's led to us being part of the Connected Health Cities programme, the 100 Resilient Cities programme as well, purely on digital. But also we have a very strong cybersecurity ecosystem here as well, which is growing rapidly at the moment. And obviously, particularly around digital health and the protection of health data, that element is becoming much more important to the wider digital healthcare sector, not surprisingly. One of the key foundation stones of that sector here is GCHQ, which is the UK's security agency. And they have set up a large base in Manchester, but see it very much as the future of cybersecurity growth in the UK. And therefore, we're gradually building more and more around their presence and the commercial cybersecurity presence in Manchester. Companies like NCC Group, but also Raytheon, BAE Systems, Northrop Grumman, etc., the big cybersecurity firms, global cybersecurity firms, building around those, around GCHQ, the government agency, and spreading that into the commercial areas as well. So digital and our expertise in sort of software development, cybersecurity, and even the application of digital, so around service design in particular, is a very, very big strength. And that's seen through our prowess in e-commerce, for example, where we're one of the leading centres in Europe of e-commerce. So we've got about 15% of all e-commerce unicorns in Europe are in Manchester, for example. And therefore, that service design element is very relevant, again, in the healthcare space, where people are actually looking to transform digital health products that actually perform both in a healthcare environment, but also in a B2C environment as well, where it's interacting with patients. And likewise, to back that up, we have a number of asset areas, such as the Health E-Research Centre here and Northwest eHealth as well, which is a really interesting company that specialises in health data and plugging into the system here. COVID has transformed a lot of these areas as well for us. Some of it very positive, actually, in terms of it having sped up our transition into a fully integrated care record for the whole of Greater Manchester. So that's a 3 million population now that has a fully integrated care record across all areas of healthcare. And we see that as a massive benefit now, both for population health, as you'd expect, and us being able to have a lot more control over that, but also going back to the element that I talked about in terms of Greater Manchester as a test bed and how we can use that ICR as a tool for companies and organisations to actually test products, services and health solutions through. So some really big changes that we've seen over the last 12 months in that sense. We've also seen many of our companies pivot into COVID-related products and services as well, and really ramp up the diagnostics specific to those areas, or the digital technologies, again, that actually deliver solutions which COVID has sort of challenged, if you like, during the last 12 months. So whether that's digital health products around delivering healthcare outside health institutions, or whether it's specific diagnostic products to that, then we've had some of our large diagnostic companies that have a presence here, like QIAGEN, like Hologic, are very much focused on those areas. So Hologic, for example, ramping up hugely in COVID testing kits, and now a key supplier in the UK supply chain for those areas. So the digital, just to go further into the digital capabilities.
Just another minute, Tim, please. Thank you.
Yeah, no, this is the penultimate slide, don't worry. So one of the other new research centres that has recently established is the Christabel Pankhurst Institute for Health Technology. And that's very much about how we translate the expertise in AI and biosensors and biocompatibility into the health sphere. So that is going to be a critical institute for companies to test new technologies in a healthcare environment and collaborate together within that. And we very much welcome SMEs as well as the large firms in that environment. And as I say, the different sort of pilots that we have a number of accelerators in Manchester as well, such as DETA, which concentrates on diagnostics and tech, or Step Into Health, which looks at how they support SMEs going into the healthcare system, or indeed the cyber and AI foundries, which are connected to the universities in those two areas, and how health forms a key part of that. So, we've got a number of different support mechanisms for companies looking to come into the system here through the accelerators or the pilots, and also the likes of ourselves, MIDAS, and Health Innovation there to support them coming into either MIDAS, coming into the system in terms of the investment agency, or Health Innovation Manchester specifically to help take those technologies into the healthcare system. So just to summarize really, in that area, so we think quite a unique proposition around the devolved healthcare system, the organisations like Health Innovation Manchester, which are there specifically to support companies, and also the integrated care record, very much a leading testbed location for a diverse range of population health products and services. One of the leading medtech centres in Europe with the institutions that I've described, and also, like I say, at the convergence between manufacturing, digital and the healthcare sector as well. And all that supported by a very large talent pool. So we hope that very quick run through really of some of the areas of strength of Greater Manchester in digital healthcare, the context of which we're operating within, which hopefully gives you a taster of the sector here. So thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, Tim. I don't know how to sum that up as a Yorkshireman, because it felt like Greater Manchester, if I can sum up, greatest, the largest, the best, and the most innovative. But genuinely, the fact that they've got devolved system and the opportunities for innovation, digital healthcare, opportunities for SMEs, medium, large enterprises, and big organizations. I think there's some real opportunities. So it'd be good to view your slides later and follow that up. Thank you very much, Tim. I'm going back to Dr. Alok now. Dr. Roy, back to you for chairman of the Medica group.
Thank you, Mr. Patel. I head a group of hospitals across Eastern India, and we are super specialty hospitals in the 7 state capitals across eastern part of the country. And we have been contributing in various ways on innovation side and treatment side and various others healthcare deliveries. I was just listening to, I think there are multiple opportunities to collaborate between the UK and India. And what I saw your strength, whatever I was listening to in last half an hour, I think you need to really present those opportunities, those whatever you are doing in Manchester Digital Health and others who are working on digital parameters, especially on the record keeping and organizing the data and analyzing it, analytics. That's something which we can use here, and especially with our schemes, entire country has woken up to the political advantage of providing health by state means. That means state is becoming the third party by the funder. Though you all have its experience as NHS, but we never had. In our country, in India, the 60% of expenses on healthcare is out of pocket. But the first time, the government is coming in as a third party and is sponsoring the treatment, which is huge. So when we talk about numbers, we talk about 500 million people who are enrolled for that. 500 million. It's more than the population of USA. When we talk about just the state where I'm in, there is a population, there's close to 100 million people who are enrolled by the government. We do not really truly know how to handle the data. So there is a huge opportunity from your end. Just to give you a small example, we started immunization in a big way, where the immunization has just been opened up for the non-healthcare workers. That means all those who are above 60 are inoculated since yesterday. We do not have a place to stand in our own hospitals. There are so many people who are coming in, and our portal is not working. So we have really switched over from fully digital to fully manual. We are very good at it, by the way. We swing on both sides with equal ease. So we swung to manual system, and we are entering it. And in one hospital alone, we have injected 900 patients in 6 hours. So you can imagine the kind of workload we have to deal with it. What I'm trying to impress upon you that you all can play a big role in helping us with the digital interactions and your expertise in that. That's one big area, and that's something which everybody recognizes. That's something which everybody knows that has to be done. Today, you cannot think of not being digital or advancing in that area. So that's something, and we at FICCI can help you in entering. We can create the interface where you can talk to our hospitals, our entrepreneurs, our others who are available to us as our stakeholders. And we can, that's a huge collaborative opportunity exists between both of us. Second thing from our side, we are just too large. We have, and as far as we are concerned, we have a huge, like when somebody opens a hospital of 500 bed, 200 bed is intensive care beds, and the number of patients, average surgeon who's 40, 45 would have done 10,000 cardiac surgery. The training opportunity for nurses, paramedicals, for different level of staffs is huge in India. And now no one need to travel, especially after COVID. We have discovered the digitalization of training programs. All our children have been studying at home for last 1 year on digital platform, various platforms they are using. So that's one thing where we can come big way. We can create the course content in no time. When the COVID was on, we prepared the content in just maybe 7 days for all the nurses, doctors. Our COVID platform for immunization has opened up. And there are more than 100 sites which have sprung up in 48 hours to tell you how to enter into that COVID platform. Tutorials have come up. Over 100. You can just go on Google and check it out. So that kind of capability we have when it comes to training. And in the new era where the digital path has been accepted, everybody has accepted that they don't have to travel. They can sit at home and go to tutorial. There can be a test digitally, and you can be given a certificate, and you can be cross-checked or audited from time to time about your knowledge based on what you have acquired. So I think immediately, top of the mind, these two things we thought, and whatever I've heard so far, we can really come in a big way. And one thing I can tell you that FICCI would stand with you, UKIBC and all of you, to ensure that this two-way possibility of interacting is established. There are many other things which I have in my mind, but it's not time because due to the pandemic, treatment is very cheap in India. Bypass surgery costs less than 2,000 pounds, UK pounds. So you can, pounds sterling. So you can see that how much, but I know your 3 hours rule and flight rules and all that. So no point talking about that. At this era, at this point of time, these two ways of collaborating with UKIBC is something which can be looked into in a very short term and would yield benefits to both sides. Thank you very much.
Dr. Roy, that was extremely well summed up. And I think we take away those two really important points. Tim did mention in his slides about the care records, and I think, you know, the management of data and care records digitally will benefit both countries really well, but particularly the training opportunities. I think they're phenomenal, and we'd be foolish as two nations not to capitalise on that. Thank you very much, and we're looking forward to developing this relationship with FICCI even further. If I can ask Sarah Smith to come on now to look at the really important area that certainly worries me, ageing and dementia, but it's really important for all of us, I think, going forward. Over to you, Sarah.
Thank you so much, and thank you for inviting me today here today. I'm delighted to be speaking with you, so thanks for that. So just wanted to say thanks for being here, or giving me the opportunity to speak to you guys today. So I have a background in psychology, a PhD in health services research from the University of Sheffield. My PhD and my postdoctoral work has focused very much on ageing and dementia. And similarly to the presentations before, how we can harness digital technology to enable people to benefit socially in line with the rest of the population. So I'm going to talk to you really briefly today about enterprise, engagement and partnership activities that are essential to the work we undertake at the Institute for Dementia and Ageing at the University of Salford. So we've had some context. I'm going to give a little bit more context around health and social care in Greater Manchester. So as we know, Greater Manchester devolved from central government, and Greater Manchester Combined Authority was formed and made up of 10 local Greater Manchester authorities. So each local authority is responsible for their own health and social care budget. Although the GMCA take this holistic approach to ageing, and they encourage, involve and support older adults in decision making for policy practice through research, teaching and our outreach activities. So as we know, for the first time on record, there are more people alive over the age of 65 than under the age of 16. Our population is ageing and will continue to do so for decades to come. And this has been acknowledged and actioned in many policy documents. And the Industrial Strategies Ageing Society Grand Challenge recognises the opportunity posed by an ageing population. Building on this, the Greater Manchester Local Industrial Strategy announced the establishment of the Innovation Partnership that Tim was previously talking about on healthy ageing, and a prospective international centre for healthy ageing to drive real-world testing and commercialisation of health care and wellbeing innovations that support healthy ageing. The Greater Manchester City region unfortunately has some of the worst health outcomes in the UK, and healthy life expectancy in some of the more deprived areas of Greater Manchester is becoming increasingly challenging. The recent report by the Centre for Ageing Better reveals that the number of years people live without a limiting illness is now moving in reverse, particularly among women. So although we are living longer, we are not living longer well. We are on a path to a future of ageing badly at the moment. So despite this, a progressive and positive response to ageing can yield major benefits for our neighbourhoods, our communities, public services, and of course the economy. It's not inevitable that an ageing society will lead to greater strain on our public services, higher levels of economic inactivity, isolation and inequality. On the contrary, positive action across Greater Manchester does generate net financial and social benefits. Supporting healthy ageing through social rather than medical approaches at the moment for us is key, and Greater Manchester has been recognised as the UK's first World Health Organisation age-friendly city region. One of Greater Manchester's 10 districts is Salford. It's considered to be one of the more deprived areas of Greater Manchester, has had this record for some years now. But Salford provides an excellent example of the ways healthy ageing is supported through its plethora of community services, social enterprises and charities, all creating access and enabling local people with the essential opportunities to socially connect. One of these opportunities is at the University of Salford, where we host the Salford Institute for Dementia and Ageing. The hub and garden that's pictured here have been designed alongside older adults and people living with dementia to provide this safe space in the community for peer support, activities, information gathering, etc. The dementia-friendly garden is tended by our members, and we often enjoy the fruits of our labour, and we sit down to lunch that we have actually grown in the garden together. Next slide, please. So the Institute for Dementia and Ageing was established back in 2014. It was opened in the Dementia Hub that you saw the picture of was opened in 2017 by our patron Christopher, or Doctor Who to the rest of it, for those who don't know. This is a community hub, and it unites our students and our older adults, people living with dementia, care partners, industry partners, health, social care, third sector organisations. We all come together in this space. Everything we do in this space, including enterprise activities, education and research, is undertaken in collaboration with older adults and people living with dementia. Here are some of our dementia and ageing associates from our panel. It's just a few of them here. We have about 20. They guide us through everything we develop and deliver at the Institute. And as the slogan says, it's nothing about us without us. So they absolutely have input into everything that we do. So they support the governance of the Institute. It's in a formal way. We have monthly meetings and we have agendas and minutes, and that provides opportunities to discuss the local research, teaching and policy agenda. The key principle is, of course, that everyone's voice is valued and given equal opportunities to be heard. So just an example of what they do support us with, conference presentations, often presenting alongside us, but always ensuring that the language we use is appropriate and accessible to our audiences. Our associates support us with academic articles and are often our contributing authors. They support us with our outreach activities, of course, and with our industry partners and community events. When society witness older people and people living with dementia actively advocating for their cause, I really believe this causes us to rethink our opinions and hopefully increase awareness and lessens the stigma around ageing and dementia. And here we are, we had a stint on the radio with some of our dementia associates in Salford radio, just to communicate what we do. And then we had the UK Festival of Ageing last summer, summer before actually, pre-COVID, when we did the boat race. So these are all activities that we enjoy getting involved in. We often open our doors when we are on campus to the community and enjoy plant sales, bake sales, all hosted by our associates panel. So the final slide, just wanted to say thank you for listening, and anybody wants to talk, please do contact me.
Thank you very much, Sarah. Look, some really important messages. We're all living longer around the world, but it's really important we age well and we live well. Even living with dementia doesn't mean you have to live a miserable life. You can live well. And that's a real big message. I think the second big message that is so simple, but we don't do it, is ask people and co-produce services. Work with the service user, the patient, the resident, because, and it's so easy to ignore them. It's actually really important we co-produce. So I think, and celebrate living well. Thank you, Sarah. That was really important. I'm really looking forward to our next speaker, Samia, who's the CEO of Zilico. Some fantastic diagnostic systems you've developed. So over to you. Really looking forward to hearing this.
Thanks, Lord Patel. Good afternoon, everyone. Good evening, I suppose, colleagues in the subcontinent. First thing to say, a colleague of mine has just messaged me to say that you look as though you're in prison. So let me first tell you everyone that I'm not in prison. It's just the background I've chosen. But it's an interesting metaphor, isn't it, for these times we find ourselves. Yeah. I think from a big picture perspective, and we heard some of this come out from the other speakers today. So Dean Fathers, you talked about prevention and earlier diagnosis. And I think that has been pressure on governments right across the world, really, to see how can we actually get into prevention and earlier diagnosis of key diseases. And I think what COVID has done has made that more acute reality, and saying, okay, we need to really start to invest in this area. Tim Newns talked about the convergence of technology. So we've seen biology and physics and chemistry, those pure sciences all coming together. And the thing that has really driven that, in my view, is data and managing data. And we can do that a lot better. The area, coming back to local level in Zilico, the issue that we are helping solve is that a lot of diseases still are visually diagnosed. And so if we think about oral cancer or oral lesions in the oral cavity, we go and see a dentist, they see red or white lesions. It's very difficult for them to decipher whether that is something sinister or something that will self-resolve in a few weeks. Similarly, in the area of cervical cancer, which is where our lead product is, after the initial screening test, colposcopy, which is a magnified view of the cervix, actually hasn't changed for 100 years. It worked in the earlier decades because clinicians were looking for high-grade disease, which is a lot easier to see. What we're now trying to do for this preventable cancer is find these lesions earlier and earlier. And those are subtle changes. And it's just very challenging for the naked eye to do that, or even optical technologies. The idea that a couple of very clever professors came up with at Zilico was to use electrical properties of cells and tissue. And what we know is that these change as disease progresses from early precancer to late precancer and then invasive cancer. And you can measure that. So our lead product, which is called Zed Scan, which is already in the UK on the market, adopted by about 14 NHS trusts already routinely using it, including St. Mary's in Manchester. And what that is showing you is that it's giving additional data to clinicians in real time. So we've got higher efficacy, we've got real time, we've got a portable device, which allows clinicians to make better decisions at the time of the appointment with the patient. And that just enables better health economics for the payer of healthcare. So the commissioners, as we have them in the United Kingdom, or the payers of healthcare, are finding that there is more efficient use of resources. So we're not having as many follow-ups, or we're actually following up the right patients in that category. This platform technology that we have, which is known as electrical impedance spectroscopy, can be applied to a number of other cancers. And we're applying it to oral cancer. Again, this is on the rise, and our uptake of alcohol right across the world is increasing, and our lifestyles are such that those sort of comorbidities are affecting oral disease. Another third area that I'd like to talk about, where we're really helping, is assessing tissue margins during surgery. So it's an intraoperative device that helps you to better define the margins, because we want to remove just the diseased tissue and not remove healthy tissue, especially from areas such as in neurology or within the thyroid or parathyroid areas. I'm going to finish off with our experience of India. So first, in terms of the market, unfortunately, a third of cervical cancer mortality, I suppose, really is in the subcontinent, and it is a public health issue. And we've been engaging with clinicians, getting user feedback from clinicians in India. We're now looking at how best we bring that into the Indian market, looking at partners. And it was great to hear Dr. Roy talk about this issue of self-pay versus government pay, because that is a big issue in the Indian subcontinent. Also, the issue of the size of the country, the population, the difference between rural and urban, and how you manage all that. And those are big lessons for a nascent UK company to take on. So, I think there is more collaboration that can be done, and I call myself sort of a company of people on the ground trying to do these things, and looking for partners to work with in the subcontinent to essentially provide better healthcare for all. So I'm going to stop here and hopefully get us back on track in terms of time, Lord Patel. Look forward to the other speakers.
I lost you for a few minutes again, unfortunately. So, but I got the gist of what you were saying. Given the time constraints, I think we may just carry on as a group and have breakout rooms and get some questions as a group, because I think some really important synergies. The three big issues for me that prevention, early diagnosis, and data management. I think that's so important, and this really important area that you identified about self-pay and government pay. Somewhere there's going to be a balance for both our nations about this and how we do this. When you've got 600 million people who maybe not self-paying, I think it's a really big issue. One thing I'll mention now before I hand over to Dr. Murtaza, now we've got some really important time left, is I chair something called the India Business Group, and we're taking out a delegation with the Department of Trade and Industry at the end of September to the British High Commissioner's residence. And we hope around that to have a round table on medtech, digital health and data, where we will take a number of key agencies from this country, but also key investors and entrepreneurs in India, where we can explore this further. So I think, especially organizations like Zillico, you've got some fantastic technology. The cervical cancer stuff is amazing. So, we look forward to that. That'd be really helpful. Now, we're really lucky to have Dr. Murtaza. Really looking forward to hearing about WCAD and the experiences here. And for once, I can say no pressure of time. While Dr. Murtaza's fiddling with his wires, if there's a question to any of our former speakers, you can actually come in now and ask a question.
Lord Patel, it's Samir Qatari. I think
Yes.
Another issue that I think the two countries need to deal with is the tax and importation when it comes to, the drugs, the medical devices, between the two countries. I think it's an area that clearly a trade agreement would look at, but I think it is, and it should be hopefully urgently done.
That's a really important issue. I think that probably one that hasn't been spoken about in many of the events and seminars I've been, because the tax and importation it'll be a political issue, but it's one that absolutely needs sorting, and I'll certainly make sure we raise this in some of the environments. I hadn't thought about that. I think that's a really important issue because it will influence how much spend there is.
I was just going to pick up on Samir's. I'm not predicting what's going to be in the budget, but I'm hoping that there are going to be some Freeport announcements today in the budget. So that could be extremely valuable for the answer to that question.
I think that's really important. One hopes there's going to be some Freeport announcements, and that will be a big, big issue. Where they'll be will be interesting, but I won't speculate. Dr. Murtaza, are you reconnected? Over to you. The floor is yours.
It's a pleasure to be here at the event and discuss about collaboration between India and UK. Let me just give a little background about our organization. We are in the pharmaceutical and healthcare business. So we are about a 52-year-old organization. We started as an Indian healthcare company, and now we are an Indian MNC. We are in pharmaceuticals, biotechnology, and vaccines now. And in addition to that, we have healthcare and hospitals. Today we have about 80% of our business outside India and about 20% in India. And outside India, we have a good presence in UK, and we have been in the UK since the last 20 years. And fortunately, that has been an extremely good partnership and relationship that we have had in terms of our presence in the UK market and the way we are contributing over there. And it has been an extremely proud moment for us in the last 1 year, where we have partnered with the UK government in providing the vaccines for the UK population, which is manufactured at our facility in Wrexham, that is near Manchester. And so we have a contract and an agreement with UK government for about 2 years to manufacture the vaccine. And that just goes to show the kind of trust and the relationship that has been built. And it's a great actually platform for India and UK to deepen the relationship and to deepen the engagement that we have between the two countries in life science and healthcare. Other than that, I think we are also in hospitals. So we have about 7 tertiary care hospitals in India, mainly at in cardiac care and in urology, in bone and joint, and minimal access surgery. And in terms of pharmaceuticals, we are also in biotechnology space and developing new technology in pharma space. Now, coming back to as a part of FICCI and part of pharma sector, I feel there are a large number of areas and where the two countries really collaborate and create something win-win situation and take the strength that both the countries have and the industry has and create something far greater and have a multiple effect. The areas I feel where UK can contribute and play a great role, I think, is in terms of innovation and research. And I think that has just that has been demonstrated by the fact that Oxford was the first university in the world to have the COVID vaccine. And it was the first vaccine that was approved and now is being manufactured with a tie-up in India with Serum and is being made available to the whole world. So it's a great example and testament to that. And there is a huge amount of unmet medical need, where there are a lot of diseases that are there where treatment and is not finally known. So I think that is one area in innovation and research where UK has a excellent innovation and research ecosystem that is developed, which involves the universities on one hand, the research funding on the other hand, the corporates on the third hand, and creates the entire ecosystem to enable and incentivize research. And that is an area where that can contribute and help from Indian context and point of view. The area where India could also play a very important role, I think, from UK point of view, is in the area of cost of healthcare. I think everywhere in the world we see that the cost of healthcare is increasing dramatically in all aspects. So there could be certain areas of healthcare where there is a primary healthcare or where there is a remote management of patient or remote patient services that are required, where there can be a kind of understanding that if India can partner with UK to reduce the cost of healthcare in UK by identifying certain areas. So that could be another approach that is there. I think the other very important need actually from Indian point of view is the undiagnosed patients in India. And that is where I found it very interesting what Samir was mentioning of having digital technologies and tools to make diagnosis of medicines easily available and accessible to a vast majority of population, which today does not have the means by which they can reach those diagnostic centers or those diagnostic facilities, because 60% of the population is living in rural areas in India, and the reach and accessibility to diagnostic services, primary healthcare is not there. So if digital tools and technologies can be made available to have that accessible to the population, I think that can be a great thing. Like just for example, in India, there would be about 80 million diabetic people, but only 20 or 25% of 25 million of those are actually diagnosed as diabetes and end up having a treatment. So there is a huge tip of the iceberg. What is visible, what is diagnosed is only the tip of the iceberg. There is a huge amount of population which is underserved because of undiagnosed population. And I think there, if we can use technology tools to address that unmet need, that would also be another area where the two countries can collaborate. In terms of the other area where I find very interesting is that because of the huge population that we have and the huge amount of data that that population can provide, today data is becoming the new wealth. And in a way, because we have such a large population, it's a great amount of wealth of information, of understanding of the human body, understanding diseases, and understanding how the interventions we are making, how it is having an impact on the health of the individuals. So if there is an ability to look at that data and to understand treatments better and their impact, that can also create a lot of value, I think, over time. Putting data together, putting artificial intelligence insight together and creating new models of treatment. So I think in the broad space of innovation, India and UK can play a very important role in innovation and research. So there could be an innovation and research partnership between India and UK, and it can cover a lot of areas within that, and can look at satisfying the needs of both UK population, Indian population, and general need of even the global requirement by putting the two heads together and creating 1 + 1 = 3 or 4. So those are some of the thoughts that I thought I'd like to share. And it's great to hear all of y'all. I think great work is being done in UK in technology, digital technology, and in different areas. And a lot of, sometimes probably the communication and knowledge of that is not known to a lot of companies over here. So if there are ways by which that can be facilitated through the digital Zoom meetings and all, and that can be intensified, or that can be made easier to make it happen, I think that itself will create so much of collaboration opportunities and can have a great impact.
Thank you so much. And I should really begin by, on behalf of not only everybody here, but the UK, to thank you and your company for what you've done during the vaccine development and pandemic. So, we all appreciate, you've played a really important part in literally saving lives. So a big thank you. I think you've covered 2 or 3 really important areas. And, I hope Sharon is pleased because, your last point about sharing information, this whole, series of events has enabled that sharing to begin. So that's really important. Innovation and research, that's the focus we should have, because, not only did you mention Oxford, but even, in fact, we're covered in Manchester, we've got graphene there that was invented. So, this huge opportunity in terms of innovation, research and partnerships between both countries. And not forgetting Sarah's really important point, while we're innovating and researching, we should make sure the people at the centre of that, the subjects of that innovation and research should be involved and help us co-produce some ideas. But there's, we have new technology tools, wearables, with these, ability to monitor people afar, remote management. And then the idea of having over almost 1.4 billion people's data is mind-boggling what you can do with that. I think how we can mine that data. So some really important points, and really look forward to working with you in the future as well. Now we have a few minutes to throw this wide open for questions, comments, suggestions. We've got some in the chat line. Please feel free to unmute yourself. Sharon, did you want to say anything as the sort of engine room behind all this?
Well, to be honest, there's a big team of us. We're absolutely delighted with what's been presented today, and I don't know if I can see that Cliff has actually joined us from NeedleSmart. I don't know if Cliff, you'd like to say a few words.
Thanks, Sharon. Hi everyone.
Hi, Cliff.
So I have been here. I've just, I don't think seeing my face is a great thing for a prolonged period of time. So, so Dean is one of my non-execs within NeedleSmart, and one of the big things we've put together is within the business is how do we take the maximum opportunity from a moment in time. In our case, our moment in time is destroying a needle and creating a safe working environment. And at that same moment in time, we've got a software platform that is inherently built around our product, which looks like that, and that destroys needles. I can demonstrate that very quickly. But at the moment when we destroy needles, we grab the patient record, we grab the vaccine record, and we send it as a data agnostic file to its next location, where via API, you can then do a million things with it. You can send it off for a digital passport, for a vaccine record, off to the vaccine manufacturer, but you're getting it in real time, because the moment that you destroy that needle, you transmit that record. One of the things we've been starting a conversation with Sharon on is that we think India is a fantastic market opportunity for us, for a whole host of reasons. But one of the things that we see as really exciting is that the infrastructure within India, in terms of everything from manufacture to deployment, plus the medical healthcare infrastructure, means that actually for NeedleSmart UK, we just need to be part of the journey. NeedleSmart India can then be born. And we think that every aspect of what we do could live out in India, and all of those skill sets exist. So I'm more than happy to take questions, but equally more than happy to take conversations offline. Would you like to see a needle being destroyed? Because it's really exciting. Okay, so bear with. I'll try and do this, but I don't want to try and join from my phone because the chances of me getting it wrong are significant. So that is a NeedleSmart unit, about the size of a household kettle, weighs about half a household kettle when it's full, a half full kettle rather. Very simple. Use needle. This hasn't been used, I should add. Drop it in the top. Press it once. You should have seen a flash.
Yeah.
That needle's now destroyed. It's gone. So what's happening inside is that's being cooled, and that was a needle. So it's been heated, squashed, and formed into a ball. It's completely sealed. Now, on our digital vaccination system, the moment you do that is the moment that we transmit the data. So that is in part of the disposal process. We've created a data transmission, and effectively we've digitized the physical event, and it really is that straightforward. So I'll take any questions or take anything offline, more than happy to.
And I think that's what's really important, Lord Patel, that we found that there's some incredible sort of innovations, but the opportunity of doing business is phenomenal, but it's also very overwhelming. And that was the whole point of this week. And that was the whole point of actually breaking down the masterclasses into sector specific so that you could have this kind of smaller discussions. I mean, on this call, you've got UK IBC. I also noticed Abhishek from DIT India. So, and obviously we've got Param Shah from Vicky, who would be there to sort of handhold and support businesses. So again, very, very important that everybody takes up that opportunity so that they're able to market with India and look at joint ventures. Nicole, I don't know if you've got anything that you'd like to say at this stage.
No, I was actually going to say if Abhishek wanted to introduce himself as well, just as he's obviously new in post for Northern Powerhouse.
That'd be great. Welcome, Abhishek.
Thank you, Lord Patel, and a real honor to actually listen to all our esteemed speakers, and thank you for the opportunity to Sharon and team. I think a phenomenal set of ideas that we all of us have just listened to people from the industry, Dr. Murtaza, for the empowering thought on the relationship, and we are all there in the Deputy High Commission based in India, so we can take these ideas more closely to the industry as well as to the academic organizations over here. So we are here to support with best of our efforts, and we would welcome any opportunity both from the UK as well as Indian industry to take these discussions forward. So delighted to be here, and thanks once again for the opportunity.
Thank you very much. I think it's going to be really important that we continue some of these discussions. I think some of us have begun to share our email addresses. I'm still trying to get over that needle being destroyed in about 2 seconds by a flash of light. Very impressive. But I think it'd be really important to develop some partnerships, and we've got the whole Yorkshire region here, and there'll be others that we can engage all of us in some bilateral discussions. I think it's really, really important. I've really enjoyed listening to people today. Any more comments, questions?
I'm very happy to say a few words. Thank you very much to everyone for having the opportunity to engage and have this conversation. I think the summary of the meeting that I would take is that there is a great opportunity for collaboration and for the gift of that collaboration to keep on growing, and I look forward to continuing this conversation after this conference is over.
Super. I think perfectly summed up. I don't know if the slides are going to be shared, Sharon, because there were some fabulous slides there that would really sort of kindle a few thoughts. People are happily sharing email addresses, so I'm sure we'll all be in touch.
You're absolutely right, Lord Patel. The key is in actually, what happens next. So with data permissions, we will be exchanging content that has been shared in the masterclasses to everybody that has registered. and we are going to encourage as much follow-up because actually it's not just about having a conversation and seeing everybody online. It's actually what kind of commercial activity, what kind of partnerships can be built, and what can we learn from each other. I mean, some spectacular presentations, and and actually to have that not just pan-northern, but actually to delve into India and see what's going on there. It's phenomenal. So we will definitely be doing that, Lord Patel.
Super.
We will have video recordings of every single session because we appreciate that people are very busy. We also appreciate that people like to consume content in different ways. So we will be doing that and we will be sharing that.
That's fantastic. Say a special thank you to Faria Ali, who's kept us going despite a few technical hitches. Thank you very much for keeping us back online again. Appreciated. So, if there's nothing else...
Thank you, Lord Patel.
Pleasure. Lovely to meet you all.
Thank you. And good afternoon, everybody.
Take care.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Goodbye.